Willkommen, meine Damen und Herren, zum Gespräch mit Michael Eavis, dem Gründer des Glastonbury Festivals, dem fantastischen, legendären Glastonbury Festival. Ich möchte Sie zuerst bitten, alle Handys natürlich auszuschalten und vor allem auch später wegen den Mikrofonen bei den Publikumsfragen, die Handys, die können da ziemlich stören. Ich möchte Sie auch auf den Dolmetscherservice hinweisen. Der ist allerdings nur auf Englisch, also Englisch-Deutsch, Deutsch-Englisch. Und wer sich dessen bedienen möchte, die Kopfhörer sind da beim Eingang zu bekommen. Michael, very welcome in Zurich. I'm very happy to be able to quiz you about Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Michael Eavis started the Glastonbury Festival in 1970. He was 19 years old then, and he had one of my favorite ever bands on that year. They were called Stack Ridge, as well as T-Rex and Keith Christmas. Nowadays, the Glastonbury Festival, usually every year, but not every year, takes place on his farm in Pilton. The farm is 400 hectares big when the festival is on, because Michael rents quite a bit of land extra for the festival. Well, what was it when you were 19 that possessed you to start this festival?
Well, we've been milking cows, you know, dairy cows, for 150 years. From my family had been on the farm since 1860, which is a long time, and we've been milking cows all that time, and so I get a bit bored with it, and so I went off to the local Bath Blues Festival with Sir Eric Clapton, you know, and the Led Zeppelin and the Moody Blues and all those things, and so I thought, well, I've got a better site because my farm is more attractive. It's more also cut rolling hills. There's Glastonbury Tor at the end of the valley and everything, but they were just on a flat site. You know what I mean? But so I thought I could do something really better, and so I started off. I kind of got off the phone. And I booked some bands. I booked the Kinks, but the Kinks didn't turn up. And I had Mark Bolan, and Dusty Bennett, and Stackridge, as you say, Stackridge. And it's just £1 to come in, including free milk. So they had a good deal.
Clearly.
I mean, they had £1's worth of milk, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So they camped for the weekend, and so that was the beginning of something. And it's gone on for 42 years now.
Hang on. I mean, you're saying, okay, you phoned up a couple of people, and it was possible in those days, as a farmer in Sommerset, with no previous experience in organising a gig, to phone up the Kinks and say, that's Ray Davies' fancy, get T-Rex to come along?
And it was scary, wasn't it? But no, the Kinks had pulled out because it was a small event, but they didn't realise who I was. I was just a farmer without any experience, so that they pulled out. And so the agent said, "I've got T-Rex going down to a holiday camp in Minehead." So they were going down to Butlins. You heard of Butlins?
Yeah.
The holiday camp.
Yeah.
So that they were going by the farm. You see, so you see, he'll stop off and do a gig for you as well for the same money. £500, which is what I was paying the Kings. It was a long time ago. And so I thought, that's marvellous, because Mark Bolan and T-Rex were more of an attraction, really, for young people than the Kinks were. Because the Kinks were, for an older generation, really, weren't they? Well, they had number one with Lola, was number one song across the world at the time, but T-Rex was more trendy, and Mark Bolan was smarter, really. Mm-hmm. So I had something better in the end, but I couldn't tell anybody because the posters had already gone out with the Kinks on, you see.
We'll get to the present-day festival in a second, but what I was wondering is, those first 2 or 3 festivals you did, they actually lost you a lot of money when you were meant to pay off your mortgage, I believe.
Yeah, that's right.
So what possessed you to continue when the danger was that you still lost money?
Once I was actually bitten with the bug of it, because I got so excited about it, and so I couldn't leave it, you see. And so then we did a string of free festivals through the 70s. It didn't cost me anything, because they were free. Everyone played for nothing. All the hippies turned up for free. No one was charged anything. And so I was building a reputation. I was building a reputation with young people across the country. And so that reputation is what really put me in good stead for where I am now. See what I mean? So in 1979, 10 years later, or 9 years later, we charged £7 for a ticket. And but then it started making money then at that point. But I'd done my apprenticeship for 10 years with free festivals. So I learned more about the children that were coming. And I mean, my own children were coming on as well, you know. So they're getting involved. So it was growing in stature, and it was creating a reputation with young people across, it's even across Europe, really. We had loads of people come from France and from Germany and from Holland. And so it was getting bigger and bigger. And by 1982, there were 50,000 people from just 1,000, 10 years earlier. So it was growing like mad. And I was doing something right. I was getting the right bands, had the right attitude. And people enjoyed coming to my farm.
Now, in Switzerland, if I could imagine if you have a sort of village in the hills somewhere, maybe fairly conservative area, and all of a sudden some lunatic puts on a festival that 50,000 people arrive.
Yeah, I know.
The locals will be a bit upset.
Yeah, they were upset to start with, but then I started giving them, because like renting their land, and they were using their tractors, to pull the vehicles out and everything. And but there was trade, but there was a lot of trade, So the great economic forces at play there, and I'm local because I've been there 150 years. Okay, I've been there a lot longer than other people had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was a local. So I had a bit of a reputation because we were running the local Methodist church and that sort of thing, and my father was a preacher and all that kind of thing. So we were thought to be half decent. See what I mean? and so they thought, but this chap, he's got a good background. He's not exactly a crook. He's not going to do a lot of drugs or anything. And so I had a good reputation with local people. And when the council would turn down the license, because they thought it was a silly idea, and then I could appeal to the magistrate's court. So I could go to the court and appeal to the court for a license. And so I got the court to overturn what the council was doing. You see what I mean? So I found the magistrate's court to be more reasonable, because there's only 3 of those. But so only 3 magistrates, and there are 42 councillors, and it's too many to please. I can't please 42. I can please 3, or say 2 out of 3 people. So I used to win the court hearing, you see. So I got a license from the court rather than from the council. As the council were against you for a period of about, say about 10 years. Now the council are really on side now. And so they don't want me to take a year off now, because economic benefits are about 100 million, you see, each year to the area.
Yeah. Do you think that, I mean, firstly, I think that in Britain, this kind of rock and pop culture is so deeply embedded in everyday life, much more deeply than here, for instance, or on the continent. So there would have been understanding from that alone, but also that very early on, any profit that you made, or a large part of the profit, you donated to charitable...
C&D.
Yeah, C&D and later Oxfam and things like that.
Yeah.
Do you think this kind of support for causes that were beyond just the profit motive gave your... is that part of the appeal still now? Or did
well, that's why I get bands to play for very reasonable sums of money, because we give away £2 million a year. And, but in those early days, we ran to nuclear. We were C&D, you see. It was a campaign for nuclear disarmament. And my council were all sort of right-wing, they were conservative. So they didn't like, but they didn't like C&D because they liked the bomb. Mm-hmm. So I was campaigning for something that they didn't agree with, the councillors, you see what I mean? Because they're very conservative councillors, because it's in the country, like you said, it's in the country. And it's not that there are no towns around, because we're right in the middle of a very conservative countryside. And so I didn't like C&D, but now we're doing Greenpeace from Oxfam, having water aid, we're doing local schools, local social housing. And so that they like all those things. So there's so much sort of on site now. But it took 40-odd years, you see. It's a long time. How old are you?
56.
All right. All right.
But with C&D, Glastonbury obviously won out. I mean, there's a political triumph there, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a triumph, yeah. And of course, we had all the bands like Paul Weller, Jam, and all those bands, that were so on side with C&D. Really, we couldn't go wrong, really. Mm. And of course, Damon Albarn, with Blur and people like that, and Coldplay even, they're all into C&D. So it was a help in the early days. But we still give money to C&D now, but it's not on the same scale, though, really.
Well, when you compare the political motivation of musicians in the 70s, even hippies were pretty motivated in a certain way. Yeah. You compare it to now. How do you compare it?
I don't know whether they're too bothered now, youngsters now, but in those days it was the end of flower power, and it was the end of that era, was Woodstock, and the whole Love and Peace Brigade, So that was when I began in 1970, you see, because Woodstock was 69, so that we were there within a year, you see. So that was the trend at the time, because all about flower power and things. Nowadays, I think people are more into, like, Jay-Z and Kanye West and all those sorts of people, and even Beyonce. I don't think that they're particularly interested in campaigning as such. So I am still.
Right.
Because I still think it's a good cause to fight, but I mean, but they're probably not really. But they know that I'm not running off with all the money, so that they trust me, but they don't charge me that much in order to play. And of course, they sell lots of records. I mean, after the festival the following year, they sell lots and lots of records.
Every year Music Week has a special feature, which is the Glastonbury effect, like listing what band suddenly sells 150% more.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, quite a few bands have had performances at Glastonbury completely made them. I mean, Elbow, I believe, were the last ones. Yeah. And before that, Pulp, and James, and Coldplay, the Smiths even.
Yeah, the Smiths in '85. They're actually brilliant. Yeah, but we didn't do fences in '85. There are no fences anywhere, and people just ran in, without fences and everything. So it got a bit overcrowded.
Well, obviously we have to talk about the fences, because fences have their own history kind of thing. Could you, which also involves a lot of the security issues and how many people you can let in, how many people you can safely deal with. Could you tell us the history of the fences, please?
But yeah, well, the numbers are actually growing so fast that when you're up to 60, 80,000, and I was getting a license for about 60,000, and so I couldn't control it at that, you see. So I had to get a big sort of steel fence, or so high, for 7 miles, which is 7 miles long. How many kilometres is that? I don't know.
That's about 10 kilometres,
yeah.
11 kilometres.
So that cost me £1 million a year to rent it. So it's a lot of money, but it does control the site, you see. So the council and the police were very keen on having proper controls. So I put up that fence, and of course, sort of a bit of an upset at the time, because it seemed like it was kind of, you know, we're a bit too heavy, you know what I mean, with security and things. But I had to do it, otherwise we couldn't have carried on. Because the problem in Roskilde, but that same year, I said in the year 2000, when they had the accident there, so the police said, well, you know, look at Roskilde, you know, but you're going the same way, but you're going to lose some people. And so really because of the Roskilde incident, that I had to put up a serious fence in order to control the numbers, you know what I mean?
Is this fence permanent?
No, they put it up and take it away.
Right.
But no, because I've got a proper dairy farm with cows, and we've got 400 cows, so it's a proper farm, really. But the festival's really fun for me, really, to be honest with you. The day job is the milking, okay, so that we produce milk for supermarkets and everything.
So actually, it's not taking place this year, the festival, because of the bloody Olympics, isn't it?
No, I take a year off every 5th year.
Okay.
So I do 4 years on and 1 year off. But you need a fallow year, which is a rest for the land, for the village, for all the people that live close by, and for all the workers on the farm and everything. So it's very important to have a fallow year, which is a rest.
Regenerate.
Yeah, kind of regeneration. Yeah, that's right. And so the team can have a rest and they can fire up their imagination and things. Because I've got 30-odd thousand people working for me.
How many?
30,000. Putting on the show, you see. So that they need a rest as well, you know. But so they need to go off and do something else. But then they come back next year, they'll be refreshed and they'll be a little bit more clever. You see what I mean? But it's a really good policy. It is one of the best things I've ever done, is have that year off every 5th year. It's so important.
And it gives you...
To get the regeneration. And it takes you back to where we were, you know, like we're on the farm, and it keeps your feet on the ground. And
gives you time to listen to all these CDs that people send you.
Yeah, I know. I picked up a dozen out there just now. Yeah, that's right. I can listen to all those as well.
How many of the bands do you actually pick yourself?
Well, actually, I choose the headliners. My daughter and I've got about 5 people doing booking. And I have the luxury of actually choosing the headliners myself, because that's the boss's privilege. Yeah, so I enjoy that.
You just phone up Beyonce and say hi?
Well, I phone up Chris Martin, or I'll do the Stones or whatever, or Paul McCartney, yeah. So I do that myself.
Can I have a look at your phone number book in a minute?
Yes, yeah.
What in your mind, I mean, just for people who maybe haven't been there, can you describe to us the Glastonbury Festival? Well, because it's not just called a music festival, it's a festival of the arts and...
Performing arts, yeah. We've got a whole lot of things that are actually non-music. You know, we do... I mean, there's a huge sort of theatre section, but the avant-garde sort of crazy stuff that goes on is that probably the best stuff I do now, I think. And there's the Trash City, which is all sort of wrecks of cars and steel and shapes. It's amazing. It's all about fire and metal. and welding and all that sort of thing. But then there's a Shangri-La, then there's Block 9, which is like a film set, of a huge film set, and it all comes to life, you know, it's amazing. And we've actually built a bull ring, funnily enough, out of old sleepers, and the bull ring is sort of dancey stuff like sort of Bollywood or American dance or some Moulin Rouge stuff. And these are things that they're basically different to what you would expect at a festival. And the people are heaving in there. You know, it's so popular. But there's about 100 acres of all those venues. And we made a film of that for the BBC. It's coming out on the 26th of June. But it's a fantastic film, which has nothing to do with the bands, nothing to do with the headliners. It's all about the sort of kind of avant-garde sort of performance art, you know. And it's fantastic. But that's where we're ahead of the game, really.
Is that also the area where the festival has managed, in the face of huge media interest in the last 10, 15 years? I mean, you're now really part of the British entertainment industry, aren't you, as opposed to kind of an alternative festival over there somewhere where the freaks went. Yeah. Is that the area where you now manage to still give the festival goers sights and experiences that they wouldn't in the normal mainstream get?
Well, yeah, I mean, they are the old hippies, actually. Yeah, but they're the hippies and children of the hippies who came in the 80s, you see. So that's a tradition that we were doing all through the 80s and into the 90s. And so they're a strong creative force, you know. But you have to see it to understand it, because I don't know how they do it. But I just pay them. And they come to me with all sorts of ideas, you know. Well, you know, we do this and we do that and we do the other, and it'll cost so much, and so we'll do it for so much. You know what I mean? But I mean, they are the most creative side of the festival now, because all the rest of it is really predictable. But the headlines are really predictable, and the folk stage, you know, and there's the other stage where you get all sorts of dance music, you know, Chemical Brothers and all that kind of thing. But that's all predictable. But this new area of mine is absolutely totally unpredictable.
Right, right.
I mean, that's what makes it so attractive. But you have to see this film, because it's an amazing film. But it's coming on BBC television.
I shall look forward to that. But I mean, also there seems to be an incredible, to everybody one talks to about Glastonbury, there seems to be an incredible intensity of experience that makes, I mean, I've read his book as well, where somebody describes that they're sitting in the toilet, it's night, and some yokels from Manchester decide to knock over the toilet with them inside. Well, so they're lying there in the dirt.
It happened once.
But they somehow managed to, they describe this experience, and then they say, well, at the time it was absolutely awful, of course, but in retrospect it just seems part of this amazing patchwork quilt of experiences you can have at Glastonbury, which seems to be kind of transcending all kind of personal unpleasantness.
Yeah, that's not a good example, but there are some unusual things that are serious fun. But I mean, we've got a registration process now because of the demand and because of the touting that used to go on. You know what touting is? Where they sell the tickets on. So they're all registered now with a photograph. So the person that buys the ticket is the person that comes to the event. So they can't sell the ticket anymore. And so the registration lasts for 3 years, okay? And so we've got 850,000 people that are registered for 150,000 ticket allocation. So it's only 5 to 1 person that can actually come, because there are more people registered, see what I mean? But that's for a 3-year period, so those people wouldn't come every year anyway. So you got a huge demand, so long may it last. Well, who knows? when it goes out of fashion or what, you know.
I mean, touting was one of the major crime problems for a while, wasn't it?
It was terrible,
as well as drugs and things.
Yeah.
But now you have, I think last time you had something like only 300 odd arrests or something, which is incredibly few for such a big event.
Well, nearly 200,000 people altogether, you see.
Yeah.
150,000 people actually buy the tickets, and then there's 30, 40,000 people that are helping. You know, so it's nearly 200,000 people. So the crime is very low now because of the fence mainly, and so there are very little. There's a few drug arrests every year, and there's the petty thefts from the tents and things. But you say it's only 300.
But for a while there, I mean, at the end of the 80s, I think, early 90s, it was a very crucial time for the festival. Because on one hand, you had the old hippies who still came. You had kind of the mystical crowds that came because of the ley lines and all that. You had the crusties who came because everything needed to be free. And then you had, the gangsters who tried to sell whatever and steal whatever. And lastly, you had the crowd who came because of the entertainment. How did, I mean, those clashes play out in the end?
Well, it did get nasty. In 1990, there was a riot because I was trying to run for the people that couldn't afford to come in. They came in for nothing, you see. So the travellers and crusties and the generally baddies, you know, or the troublemakers, but they all came in for nothing. So there's about 40,000 of them and 40,000 of people who actually paid to come in, you see. So that worked for me, a sort of kind of Robin Hood thing, where the rich pay and the others don't. Because the Robin Hood, used to rob the rich to pay for the poor, didn't they? So that's what I was doing in a way. So that the rich people are actually paying to come in, or the people that were working and could afford the ticket. So it was half of them were free, half of them were paying. So it wasn't going to work for very long, was it?
No.
Because it was an unusual model. And
to say the least.
To say the least, yeah. So the free area was all full of hippies and what I so kindly say bandits, and travellers and crusties and everything. But it was quite good fun. But that was one side of the event, and then the other side of the farm was a proper sort of ticket entry, where we were doing different stuff. We were putting on things like the Stone Roses and Oasis and all that sort of thing. I'm doing the Smiths, you see. But the travellers were doing their own thing over there. That in some ways, people used to prefer what they were doing to what I was doing, because they were very good at it, and it was free as well. But then in 1990, it was all too much. There were too much of the non-payers, and they tried to break in to the side of the festival that was paying, you see. And so we had a riot, and they were throwing Molotov cocktails and everything. So at that point, I had to take a year off for it all to calm down, and to try and get the council back on side again. But that was a pinnacle, really, but that was where we got to, you know. And so I had to change at that point. So I couldn't do the free site any longer. So in 91, 92, we came back with only one site. So the travellers either had to work for me, or else they paid to come in. But I gave a lot of them jobs, actually, because they're quite creative, quite clever.
And that's still the case?
Yeah, that's still the case, yeah.
How did the fact that Glastonbury is now such a huge media event, how has it affected in any way the philosophy, or has it affected the practical side of organizing things? Like, do you get like record companies coming to you saying like, all right, we know that you'd like Coldplay, but you can only have them if you also put on thick red socks.
Yeah, it's a bit of wheeling and dealing like that. But there's a little bit of wheeling and dealing. But I mean, we look at that. And Coldplay will want to play regardless. And Radiohead and all the top bands want to play in it, really. But we do work together with them because they've got some new bands coming up, you know, and don't worry, prepared to listen to them. But there's a competition for all the unsigned bands, and we have about 4,000 of those, and so they'll get listened to, and they get listened to by panels and things, and then it goes down to from 4,000 to 70 bands that we listen to live.
And there goes your fallow year.
Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. So we choose from 70, we choose 7 bands that actually play. So from 4,000 applicants, we choose 7 from the 4,000. But so there's always a chance for the new bands to apply, you know.
Do you sort of have, I mean, in a second, I guess we ask questions from the audience, but I'm slightly intrigued. Do you have twinges of nostalgia for the times where everything was chaos?
But you know what? I enjoy it more now than ever. I have to.
Do you?
Yeah,
right.
Because I've got my chaotic elements, because I've got the avant-garde area, because that is chaotic down there, and it is very attractive. So I've got a little bit of chaos. Again, I've got 90% of the real thing. That suits me. Yeah.
And best of all, you still have your nice homely bed. You don't have to sleep in a tent.
But no, I live on the farm, and but the festival's on the farm. We have got a nice bed. I've got a nice wife, and so we sleep well. Yeah, that's very good.
Excellent. Well, who can we look forward to for next year? Do we know
it's
already?
It's a bit of a secret at the moment, but there are a lot of headlines.
Oh, you can tell us.
Yeah. No, there are a lot of headlines around for next year. We're fortunate. But that's another good thing, having a year off. You know, the headliners are sort of stacking up then. Okay, we're not taking them out, you know, too fast. And so they're very anxious to play. So 1 year off helps that a little bit because the demand is stronger. But yeah, I've got 3 or 4 good headliners for next year.
Excellent.
But it's a bit of a top secret at the moment, and we haven't really 100% agreed all of them.
All right. Well,
so I'm going to drop a couple.
You can tell me later over a glass of wine.
Yeah, exactly.
I won't tell anybody else. Honest.
No.
Okay, well, if there are questions from the audience, please wait until the microphone has arrived with you. Also, Michael, if you could all ask the questions in German and it will be translated into English with that little machine.
I bet they speak English, don't they?
Yeah, not all of them. There's also people from the French part of Switzerland. It's all easier too.
Yeah. No, nothing doing.
Yeah, no, she is racing up that way.
Yeah.
Hello. First of all, thank you for being here, and I enjoyed your talk. My question would be, if you had the chance to make the same decision as 40 years ago to do the festival again, would you do it again? And the second part of the question, do you think it is still possible for passionate people to do the same as you did nowadays? Do you think there's still a chance to organize something as legendary as Glastonbury?
Was he speaking English?
Yeah, I did.
I'm not getting English on this thing, I'll tell you. Can you start again?
Well, it's a two-part question. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. What did you say?
The first one, do you think it is still possible for a passionate person to organize something like you did 40 years ago? And the second part would be, would you do it again if you would be at the age now that you've been 40 years ago? Would you do it again?
Would I do it again? Yes, most definitely. I think it's more difficult now because the authorities are getting a lot more interested, aren't they? But the authorities are getting more control and things with policing. and health and safety and all that kind of thing. It's more difficult now because there were no rules when I started, because it was all, it was just a free-for-all, you know. And we could go all through the night, but there were no noise restrictions or anything. I just had to cope with your neighbours myself, but there were no authorities there to do it. So it was easier then than it is now. But I think, I'll be retiring when, I don't know when, but I'm going on a little bit. But so that you can have a go at my slot. Where do you live?
I'm living here.
Oh, you live in Switzerland? Yeah. Have you got enough flat fields? They're a bit steep, aren't they? Because you want a lot of flat space, you know. I've got, so I use about 1,000 acres. So I got 500 acres myself, and then I get all the neighbours. So that it helps with their economics as well. So good luck. Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah.
Any more questions? I can't see very many hands up. There.
Here's one.
What do you do with the cows?
Well,
Do you send them down to Butlins for a holiday camp?
No, but no, the cows go into their winter quarters. So they go back to where they are now, you see. They're all undercover now. And, but no, the milk sort of gets collected every day just the same. So as if it was winter, really. But the cows don't like coming in the summertime. So the cows really like the year off, because they can graze all through the summer, you see. Are you a farmer? No. No. So all our milk goes into supermarkets, and it's all liquid sale of milk. Yeah.
What do you do in the year off?
Well, the year off I'm coming here. I went to Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago. I went to Holland, and we're doing lots of festival stuff, and we're actually winning awards too. Actually, we won the best, international festival in Los Angeles, but that was about 3 weeks ago, and we've actually won that for 7 years running now. So the best festival in the world, apart from America, because they've got their own awards. And we're supposed to be traveling around the country a little bit. So it's very nice to come to Zurich. It's a lovely place, and so it's a luxury really to be here for me, because I've been farming all my life, you know, and so we don't travel very much. So I have to come and talk to you, which is very nice to be invited, and so it's great fun, and thank you very much. Yeah.
Hello, I have one question. I read in the festival booklet that you will put microchips in the wristbands, in the festival wristbands next year. Is it true, or why?
But no, that's not going down very well. That idea has not gone down at all well. I think it's a very clever idea. It's a chap here who actually came up with the idea. He's Canadian, isn't he? He's French Canadian. I met him in Holland a few weeks ago. But it's a very clever idea. But my people, according to the website, but they don't want to be followed around. So they don't want people to know where they are. so it's not going to work for me. No, but we do photos on tickets.
Okay, but why is it a clever idea? What is good? Why is it a clever idea?
Well, it's clever because technically it's very clever, isn't it? Because there's a chip in there that says who you are. Okay, you go in through the gates and your picture comes up on the screen, but so you know that it's a real person. A person actually bought the ticket. Okay, and you also know when he leaves the site as well, but so you know how many people you have on site at any one time. But you also know where that person is on site as well. But they don't want to know that. That's a bit of an invasion of their privacy, I think. Probably. Yeah. One over here.
I got a question. I just wonder, there have been some Jump Here stages and anime stages, Radio XFM stages and the festivals. How are they powered? Are the bands chosen by the magazines, for instance, or did you choose them and they just simply support you?
But choose the headliners, you mean?
The bands on the enemy stage, for instance.
Yeah.
Is the enemy choosing the bands there, or is it?
No.
How's that working?
But no, we choose all. We don't have an enemy stage any longer, because they were too. But they were too much about themselves, you know. So I don't. So I don't do that anymore. But no. So all the we got about 26 stages, and yet they're all running. The people work for me. The managers work for me, but they do their own booking. And it's all done in-house. There's no external booking at all. So that my chaps, occasionally I get a band that I can't place on the main stage. So I say, look, please will you take, say, John Fogerty or something. But I haven't got space on the main stage. So I lean on them, and we do a bit of trading so between ourselves. So I have the last word with the overall booking, but they're done individually, and it's very sort of democratically done, really, because people have got talent there that know better than me. Perhaps, say with folk music or the acoustic tent, for instance, because that's their subject. You know what I mean? But it's not mine, so that they do their booking there. So there's no external booking done whatsoever. But none at all. Thank you for the question. Thank you.
You mentioned a film screen. What do you play on there? What's with that?
Well, we got a chap who actually runs the films, and I mean, he just chooses his approach. There again, you know, he's been working with me for 35 years or so, and I dare not tell him what films he has to put on the screen, because he decides. But when you get a projection, though, occasionally, you know, say he puts on a war film or something, and people don't like it, they have to ask him to take it off. But there again, you know, Mike actually does the booking for his own films, and I mean, he's worked for me for so many years. He is very reliable. And usually they're really good films. But occasionally I get people say, I don't like that film, you know. So when it goes in the program, if I get a few objections, then I got to go back to Mike and say, look, let's say got 30,000 people that don't like that film. So you must change it. So that's how it works. Yeah.